Just a reminder, this is not financial advice. This is not legal advice. Do your own research. I'm never going to reach out to you either in the comment section or through any other means to try to get you to invest in something that I'm investing in or to send me crypto. Some links underneath the video are affiliate links. I may earn a commission, but this is at no extra cost to you. Of course, do your own due diligence. How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Happy day before Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S. If you're outside the U.S., happy Wednesday. I want to go on a bit of a rant here, and I think I'll have to expand on this video at some point. I'm talking to someone about doing a live stream and talking about this more, but I feel like a lot of people approach Bitcoin as a 0 or 100% thing. And maybe it's just because those people are the loudest, but you hear a lot of people from traditional finance saying you're an idiot if you hold Bitcoin, right? One of the most well-known financial independent retire early bloggers, Mr. Money Mustache, you might have heard of him. I really like a lot of his stuff, but he made an article years ago saying Bitcoin is stupid. And then I was listening to a Bitcoin magazine or a Bitcoin conference financial advisor, like they were speaking at the conference this year, and they said that everyone who just is retired early without Bitcoin is going to die poor. And it's like, these are so extreme viewpoints and such extreme viewpoints. And I think a lot of people are missing the boat. We'll talk about my approach, why I think it actually makes sense to hold equities, real estate, and Bitcoin, and how you can do that efficiently and effectively. We'll sprinkle in some of the news from today. But before we get started, if you don't mind, hit subscribe. Also join me on Telegram. You can check it out underneath the video. There have been more and more channels getting banned and strikes. I see 1 or 2 every single day, it seems like. So if you want to join me there, check it out. We also are going to be running another promotion for BYDefi. If you want to check it out, you can see it in the link tree. It's the second link down. Right now we have this deposit bonus, so when you deposit on the platform, you can get bonuses, and we're going to run more of these trading promotions where just you trade on the platform and you automatically will get some of this up to $10,000 worth of Bitcoin, just depending on how much you trade. So we're going to do more of that in the future. I think the next one's going to start probably the first of the month, so be on the lookout for that. But Bitcoin kind of sitting sideways right now. There's some news, again, we'll talk about in the video, but I was listening to that video yesterday, and I was listening to the financial advisor. Typically, financial advisors are pretty cautious, right? They want you to be, partially in bonds maybe or money markets, and then maybe have the majority of your value or your net worth in equities, and maybe a 5 or 10% allocation to Bitcoin, depending on how old you are. This person was saying that everyone that's not in Bitcoin right now, that's retired, is going to die poor. And I realize some people on this channel will think that's true, but I feel like that's rah, you're dumb if you're not going to buy Bitcoin. And it's just kind of missing the point of what's happening right now. Right? It's totally wrong what she's saying, because the Bitcoin, the S&P 500 will include Bitcoin over time. It already does through MicroStrategy, through, I don't know if Coinbase is in the S&P 500, but through Tesla, through some of these other companies, there's a small amount of Bitcoin. And as time goes on, if Bitcoin continues to get more and more intertwined with the financial system, with BlackRock and Fidelity, and they continue to have success, and Bitcoin continues to go up and to the right, we're going to see more and more Bitcoin in the S&P 500. There's going to be more exposure. Eventually, we'll get to 0.1% exposure to Bitcoin, then 0.5%, then 1%, then 2 or 3% possibly, depending on how popular Bitcoin gets. There could be a lot of companies that add Bitcoin to the balance sheet, and then you'd have exposure. And I think it's just, it makes me nervous when financial advisors don't see that, especially someone that's so connected to the Bitcoin community. On the other hand, we have retired early people that think that you're an idiot if you have Bitcoin, right? It's just, it's fugazi. They miss the point that, politicians are continuously inflating the money supply, and this is really one of the only finite asset classes out there, right? I mean, an equity goes up in value, you can issue more shares, you can dilute shareholders. Some real estate goes up in value or it becomes really attractive. You can build high rises, you can build land now, like you look at Dubai. So I think it's fine if people don't want to buy Bitcoin, because then, you and I just get a lower price, and eventually these people come into Bitcoin or get exposed to Bitcoin, whether they like it or not, through indices. But for everyone that's like 100% or 0%, I think you're kind of missing the boat. I think these two groups are pretty well aligned. I actually got really into the FIRE movement back before I was into crypto, right? Because I was in a job that I didn't really particularly like. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I just wanted freedom, right? I wanted the weight of debt off my shoulders. I wanted to have options. I didn't want to feel like I was stressed out trying to buy a beer, right? Or a sandwich. And I felt that. Because I didn't make much money and I had a lot of debt coming off college. So I think at the core of it, a lot of the people that are in Bitcoin and trying to retire earlier, pretty similar. They want freedom. They want safety, right? And I can see why maybe there are some headlines that make people in the FIRE movement not want to buy Bitcoin, to be clear. I think it's smart to have Bitcoin, but I can see why, just yesterday, it came out that Sam Altman's ex-boyfriend was held up at gunpoint. There's a wrench attack, basically, is what they call it. Held up at gunpoint and had to transfer out like $11 million of Bitcoin and Ethereum while he was tortured. So, I can see why people would not find that appealing, right? Safety is our number one concern as humans, is living, right? So when you hear about someone torturing you, or if you have a family like that, that's really scary. That's not worth it for any amount of upside for a lot of people, right? There are ways to get around this, right? Like Bitcoin ETFs. I've been trying to put the majority of my capital into Bitcoin ETFs instead of hardcore Bitcoin, even selling some over time and putting it into Bitcoin ETFs. I don't have access to my Bitcoin at home, but someone can hear that and they can still not believe you, right? So yeah, it's just very difficult when stuff comes out like that. Again, you can get around it with Bitcoin ETFs, but it's still scary, right? It's still scary. On the other hand, there are people that are 100% Bitcoin, right? And they don't want to hold equities. They think it's stupid to hold equities because Bitcoin is the base currency, right? And, I can appreciate that. But for a lot of people, they can't handle that volatility, right? So if you're someone that's 100% Bitcoin, and you make fun of people for, buying VOO or real estate, at the end of the day, all we want is freedom to do what we want, right? Do what we want with our time, right? And to do things how we want. So if VOO can get you there because you're a high income earner, or you're okay buying assets with fixed rates that are going to appreciate in value, like a house, right? So your debt is fixed, or your payments are fairly fixed, right? Insurance or property taxes might go up, but they're fairly fixed, and then your equity goes up faster, right? And assets like VOO, right? If you're okay with that, great, that can work out for you, right? So this 100% or 0% approach, I don't think makes sense. Let's say you buy Bitcoin right now and you only put 5% of what you're making into Bitcoin, or what you're investing, right? Let's say you put $50 a month in Bitcoin, $950 into VOO. Over the next 20 years, Bitcoin will turn into 33% of your portfolio, right around 33%, and VOO will be 67%. So you put VOO gaining 10% a year, Bitcoin growing at 25% a year. So that's the assumption, right? Lower about half of what we've seen typically. Again, that's very bullish for Bitcoin. That puts Bitcoin in the millions, if not tens of millions of dollars. But you look at that growth rate, 25%, maybe that's, possible over the next 10 years, 15 years, probably higher than that, and then it'll probably get smaller. But again, if you're bullish on Bitcoin, that's maybe a fair assumption. That shows, you can put 5% of your portfolio at risk, and you can possibly grow that to 35% without risking that much. Let's say Bitcoin does nothing for that time period. Okay, you just lost out on 5% of your portfolio, but you could have had massive upside. Right? I think some approach like this is good for normal people, right? There's not that much stress because it's only 5% of your portfolio, but there's massive upside. Right? And I think it makes sense to allocate to something like Bitcoin, right? Even if you don't understand it, there's got to be something in your brain that's like, is there something here, right? It's gone up 6x from the bottom recently. BlackRock, Fidelity, the biggest institutions in the world are offering Bitcoin products. We had the president of the United States having billions of dollars of wealth in Bitcoin. We have, just yesterday, Texas bought iBit. Like, there are so many reasons to want to buy Bitcoin right now. And the question is like, a lot of people want to know, where's the bottom? No one knows. So just dollar cost average, right? If you want to get more into Bitcoin, you can trade, right? You can trade and try to take profits over time. We've been able to make life-changing amounts of money doing that. But of course, like, you have to know what you're doing. But yeah, I don't think you have to be 100% or 0%. I think there's room for both. I think there's room for real estate as well. Real estate's great because it spits off cash flow if you do it right. Or if you don't want that, you can leverage and you can get really good returns. Let's say your area appreciates by 4% a year, but you're, 5x leverage, which is 20% down. You're 20% down and you have a mortgage. That means you get 20% appreciation. That's pretty good. And then maybe you get some, loan pay down on top of that, some tax benefits, maybe a little bit of cash flow. Of course, you have to do more work, so it might not be worth it. I think for people that have their own business, it's less worth it because you can make money generally when you want, unless you just automate everything in a slow time. That's what I've tried to do, right? I bought properties when things were a little bit slow, and I put in systems, and I hire off managers as well, so I don't have to deal with them too much. So I pay a little bit, but then I don't have to deal with the property. So you can do that, right? You can have real estate for cash flow, keep your head on straight. So psychologically, you're stronger when there are 40% downturns because you have cash flow, right? Your day-to-day is not as affected. Then you can have VOO just as a super boring, just you're going to grow with the market. And then you can have Bitcoin for the high growth. To be clear, I'm more than 5% Bitcoin. I said that earlier that would probably fit a lot of people, but I'm more than 5% crypto. I'm significantly more than that because I'm really bullish and I understand the market. The other thing is you don't have to try to time everything perfectly. I talked about dollar cost averaging. If you want to go like one level up from there, you can just buy based on the 4-year cycle about right now. For like the next 2 years, you can buy, and then as we move up, you can stop buying. You can just stop, right? Over time, that actually might underperform just dollar cost averaging continuously. But if you're worried about the next 4 years or so, or 8 years or whatever, you can just do that, right? You don't have to go and just dollar cost average when we're at all-time highs all the time, right? You can just dollar cost average when we're pulled back. We're pulled back like $40,000 per Bitcoin, 30%. You can just dollar cost average now. Just my thoughts on the subject. Let me know your thoughts underneath the video. I think for a lot of people, this would make sense. And real estate, I realize, is more expensive, so it's harder to get into. But equities, along with Bitcoin, I think makes sense. Of course, I realize Bitcoin typically outperforms equities, so maybe you're someone that can really split how you think, or not split. You can just handle the volatility better. But if you have a family, right, or you can't handle 100% volatility with Bitcoin or 100% Bitcoin volatility, it's fine. You don't have to feel like you're gonna regret it in future years. And I think some people that get pulled to Bitcoin and crypto shouldn't be in Bitcoin and crypto. I realize that it performs really well, but there's a section of people that are just, I think, low income and stressed about it and trying to just hit home runs all the time, like penny stocks or 100% leverage, right? Like stuff like this, 100x leverage, that shouldn't be in volatile assets because they're gamblers, right? They're gamblers and they're trying to make up for a lack of income or saving or something like that with buying a really volatile, risky asset. And if you're a really great investor, maybe you can make it work, but most people then panic sell and they end up losing more money than what they would have if they just put it into VOO and didn't look at it, or a savings account. If you can't handle the crypto market, don't join the crypto market. Then you're just exit liquidity all the time if you're going to sell at the worst possible times. On the other hand, if you're someone that has a strong income, right, and you realize that you have a strong income, you don't care about like retiring by this certain day. I think this is another reason why the retire early movement doesn't really like Bitcoin, is because a lot of them are high stress. Like they don't like their jobs. That's why they're trying to retire early. So anything that would push that date back hurts them, right? Like you get hurt more by losses than you feel good about winning, right? So Bitcoin could go up 400%, and if you see it go down 20%, 25% when maybe VOO is doing nothing, or the S&P 500 is doing nothing, that might hurt, and you're like, oh, I could have sold, and then I would be half a year closer to retirement, and I'm such an idiot, and like all this stuff. And yeah, it's just not healthy. But if you're someone that doesn't mind working a little bit longer, you might have to work less if you buy Bitcoin. You probably will, like I said earlier, because it can outpace VOO and real estate and all that. But let me know your thoughts. Again, sorry, a bit ranty, but I felt like this is something worth talking about, and just kind of my thoughts on it. But I want to hear your thoughts. Be careful of the bots down below. I hear some people saying that I need to clean them up. I've talked about this before, but I make a couple videos a day. I have a family, and there are hundreds of bots on every video, and you have to hit like 3 or 4 buttons, which, it's not that big a deal. It's not physically demanding to hit 3 buttons to delete a comment, but it takes a very long time, and if I did that all day, I wouldn't be able to make videos. So yeah, just don't click on any of the bots. I know it's real annoying going through the comment section, but unless YouTube fixes something, I can't really do anything. Let me know your thoughts. I appreciate it. Again, you can check out BY DeFi underneath the video, and I'll see you in the next one.